Welcome back. The rare and valuable coins. Today we're diving deep into the world of silver Kennedy half dollars, but not just any half dollar. We're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. So let's get started. Let's begin with the first coin on our list, the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar, a coin that is especially unique due to its historical significance and the condition of some specimens, which have driven its value to astonishing heights. If you've ever wondered about the value of rare coins, you're in for a treat. This coin, despite being part of a circulation series, has captured the attention of collectors, and its value today can reach up to $400,000 or more, especially for certain specimens that are in excellent condition. The 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar was produced during a time of major social and political change in the United States. This was just a few years after President John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963, which deeply affected the nation and the world. In fact, the coin was designed as a tribute to President Kennedy after his untimely death. The U.S. Mint introduced the coin in 1964 as part of a broader effort to honor his memory and legacy. Kennedy had been a beloved leader, and the decision to put his image on U.S. currency was a powerful gesture by the government, symbolizing the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in the country's history. In terms of design, the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar showcases the familiar portrait of President Kennedy facing left. This iconic design was created by the renowned artist Gilroy Roberts, who was responsible for crafting the likeness of Kennedy based on a photograph taken by his personal photographer, Cecil Stoughton. The design of Kennedy's face is captured with great precision and detail, making it one of the most recognizable profiles in numismatic history. The reverse side of the coin features the familiar American eagle, which holds an olive branch in one claw and arrows in the other, symbolizing peace and strength. The eagle's wings are spread wide, with a banner across the bottom that reads, "A pluribus unum," reinforcing the unity of the United States. However, what makes the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar particularly interesting is the fact that it was minted during a time when the United States was transitioning from the use of silver to base metals in its coinage. The 1965 to 1967 series of half dollars were struck in 40% silver, a departure from the traditional 90% silver content that had been used in earlier Kennedy half dollars and other coins like the Mercury dime. The decision to reduce the silver content was largely driven by a shortage of silver and the rising cost of metal, which made it increasingly difficult to continue producing coins with a high silver content. However, this short-term change in composition actually increased the appeal of the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar among collectors, who recognized its unique place in U.S. coinage history. The mintage of the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar was substantial, with over 295 million coins struck by the U.S. Mint. However, despite the high mintage number, certain examples of the coin have risen dramatically in value due to their rarity, especially when found in high-grade conditions. The coin's value is greatly influenced by factors like the condition of the coin, whether it has been preserved in a well-maintained state, and the specific error variants that exist. One of the most significant factors contributing to the high market value of the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar is its condition. Coins that are graded in uncirculated or near-perfect states are considered highly collectible and can fetch prices well over their face value. In fact, specimens that are graded MS-65 or higher can command prices upwards of $400,000 in the current market, with certain examples reaching record-breaking sales figures at major auctions. The coin's rarity in pristine condition and the emotional connection collectors feel toward the Kennedy administration have made it one of the most sought-after coins in modern U.S. numismatics. Another factor that has contributed to the rising value of the 1967 silver Kennedy half dollar is the interest in coins with errors. Error coins have always been highly collectible because they are one-of-a-kind or extremely rare. In the case of the 1967 Kennedy half dollar, there are several types of errors that have surfaced over the years, including double strikes, off-center strikes, and various types of die cracks. These errors are highly prized by collectors because they provide a glimpse into the minting process and are a testament to the uniqueness of the coin. For example, A 1967 Kennedy half-dollar with a double die obverse, where the design appears to be doubled due to a malfunctioning die, has been known to fetch astronomical prices at auctions, sometimes well above $400,000 depending on its CI. Now, let's turn our attention to the second coin on our list, the 1968 Silver Kennedy half-dollar, particularly the rare variety with the D error mint mark. This coin is similarly a tribute to President Kennedy, but it carries its own set of distinct characteristics that make it a different and valuable piece for collectors. Just like the 1967, the 1968 version of the Kennedy half-dollar was produced in response to the national tragedy of JFK's assassination, and it was part of the same series that sought to honor his memory. The 1968 Kennedy half-dollar was minted in both 40% silver and in a larger quantity than previous years, making it a common coin. However, what sets the 1968 coin apart from others in the series is the presence of the D error mint mark, a variant that has fascinated collectors for decades. This error occurred when the D mint mark, which was intended to be applied to certain coins at the Denver Mint, was mistakenly struck on some of the coins. In typical circumstances, the presence of the mint mark would indicate where the coin was minted, but in this case, the error makes these coins especially unique. The D error mint mark is a rare occurrence, and it has been estimated that only a small number of these coins were actually produced. As a result, the 1968 Silver Kennedy half-dollar, with the D error mint mark, is considered one of the most valuable error coins in U.S. numismatic history. Coins like these, which exhibit mistakes during the minting process, are highly prized for their rarity and historical significance. While the regular 1968 Kennedy half-dollar typically fetches a modest value in the market, the D error mint mark version is worth significantly more, with prices sometimes reaching upwards of $350,000 at auctions, depending on the condition and demand. The design of the 1968 Silver Kennedy half-dollar is largely similar to that of the 1967 coin, with Kennedy's profile on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. However, the major distinction is the minting error that occurred at the Denver Mint, and this error has made the 1968 version highly collectible and sought after by error coin enthusiasts. The D error mint mark is especially valuable because it is so difficult to find. The mistake occurred only during a brief window of time, which has resulted in an extremely limited number of coins, with this error being available in circulation today. Collector interest in the 1968 Silver Kennedy half-dollar with the D error mint mark has only grown over time. Error coins, especially those from well-known mints like the Denver Mint, are always in high demand, and this particular coin has been the subject of numerous auctions where it regularly commands top dollar. Many collectors view the 1968 D error Kennedy half-dollar as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a rare and significant piece of American history, and this has driven up its market value over the years. As with the 1967 Silver Kennedy half-dollar, the 1968 version is a testament to the enduring appeal of President Kennedy and the powerful symbolism that his legacy continues to hold for Americans and collectors around the world. Our next coin of the day is the United States Silver Kennedy half-dollar, 1988, with a large date and a rare mint error, the P mint mark error. This coin is a standout in any collection, and its value has soared in recent years, especially in circulated fine condition. The Kennedy half-dollar series itself holds a special place in U.S. coinage, but this particular variation has unique features that make it extraordinarily valuable. So let's begin by looking at the history of this coin and the factors that contribute to its high auction market value today. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964 as a tribute to the late President John F. Kennedy, who was tragically assassinated in 1963. Initially, the coin was minted in 90% silver, but in 1965, due to the rising cost of silver, the coin's composition was changed to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This transition marked the start of the Kennedy half-dollar's long history, which spans decades, and it remains one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics. The 1988 Kennedy half-dollar, part of the regular series minted by the U.S. Mint, is primarily notable for its large date variety. The minting of Kennedy half dollars in 1988 wasn't particularly remarkable in terms of mintage numbers. An estimated 17 million coins were struck that year. However, what makes this particular coin stand out is the error that occurred during the minting process, which led to the presence of an unusual P mint mark on some of the coins, which would normally indicate that the coin was minted in Philadelphia. This mint mark was never meant to appear on these coins, as the 1988 Kennedy half dollar was supposed to be minted in Denver, meaning the P mint mark was a significant error. This mint error is one of the rarest and most sought-after anomalies in modern U.S. coinage. A P mint mark on a Kennedy half dollar in 1988, which was originally struck with a Denver mint mark, creates a fascinating story and an instant intrigue for collectors. The occurrence of such errors, even more so on coins that were produced in mass quantities, has a deep historical significance for numismatists, making it a high-value coin. The market value of the 1988 silver Kennedy half dollar with the P error mint mark in circulated fine condition is estimated to be well over $100,000. This value fluctuates based on the coin's condition, rarity, and demand at any given auction. At high-end numismatic auctions, this coin can fetch even higher amounts, especially when it's in top-tier condition, such as near mint or uncirculated grades. The unique nature of this error has drawn the attention of both collectors and investors, and it's a symbol of the unpredictability and charm of coin collecting. What further contributes to the coin's appeal is its association with the historical context of the 1980s. The 1988 Kennedy half dollar, even though it was largely circulated and not intended to be a commemorative coin, reflects a significant period in U.S. history. The late 1980s was a time of great political and social change, and the Kennedy half dollar series, in particular, has always been a reminder of President John F. Kennedy's legacy. This emotional and historical connection to the coin elevates its collectability, making it even more desirable for those looking to own a piece of American history. Collectors are especially drawn to the P mint mark error because it represents a mistake in the minting process that was not supposed to happen. Error coins, especially those that are not common or have a known issue in their production, hold significant value in the market. The rarity of this coin increases its allure, and as more collectors become aware of the P mint mark error, the demand continues to grow, driving up its market value. Now, let's shift our focus to the second coin in today's discussion. The United States Silver Kennedy half dollar, 1974, large date, without a mint mark. This coin is another gem in the world of U.S. coinage, and while it doesn't feature a minting error like our first coin, its historical significance, design features, and overall rarity have made it one of the most valuable coins in the collector market today. The 1974 Kennedy half dollar holds historical importance because it was part of the long-standing series that was introduced shortly after President John F. Kennedy's assassination. The coin was meant to symbolize his enduring legacy, and its design reflects a strong connection to the memory of the fallen president. The obverse of the coin features a portrait of Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, which captures the likeness of Kennedy in a dignified and heroic manner. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, depicts the presidential seal, a powerful symbol of the U.S. government. In terms of design, the 1974 Kennedy half dollar with the large date variety was minted to commemorate the ongoing legacy of President Kennedy, and it was produced in large numbers. Around 45 million coins were struck that year. However, unlike many other years in the series, the 1974 coin has become highly desirable due to the lack of a mint mark on the majority of its coins. This particular issue can be found with no mint mark, unlike other years where a mint mark might indicate the location of production. The absence of a mint mark makes this coin highly collectible. The 1974 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark is especially valuable today, with well-preserved specimens in good condition fetching prices over $90,000 in today's auction market. Collectors appreciate the rarity of the coin without the mint mark, as it was a feature that made the coin stand out from its peers. Although the coin may appear to be a regular example of the Kennedy half dollar series, the absence of the mint mark provides a unique touch that has captured the imagination of collectors and numismatists alike. What makes this particular coin even more valuable is the market's interest in coins that were produced during a time of transition in U.S. coinage. The 1970s were a turbulent time for the U.S. economy, with the country grappling with inflation, a global oil crisis, and social unrest. Coins minted during this period are often viewed as symbols of the nation's struggles and triumphs. As a result, the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar carries with it a deeper historical and cultural significance, adding to its value in the numismatic market. Furthermore, the collector interest in this coin has grown exponentially over the years as collectors continue to seek rare and unique pieces to add to their collections. The coin's design, historical context, and the fact that it was struck without a mint mark has made it one of the most coveted coins in modern U.S. numismatics. The market value of this coin, especially in good or better condition, continues to rise, and it is regularly sold for over $100,000 at high-end auctions. Next up, the 1979 Silver Kennedy half-dollar, without a mint mark, is a remarkable coin for collectors who understand the nuances of coin production, mintage figures, and the subtle differences that can make a coin worth significantly more. Introduced in 1964, the Kennedy half-dollar was created to honor the memory of President John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963. The coin was originally produced in 90% silver, which was standard for U.S. coins up until the 1970s. The 1979 version of the coin, in particular, stands out for its mintage figures, design elements, and the critical difference in how it was produced and circulated. The design of the Kennedy half-dollar is based on a portrait of President Kennedy, created by sculptor Gilroy Roberts. The obverse features a profile image of the late president, looking dignified and solemn. Around the image are the inscriptions, "Liberty in God We Trust," and the year of minting, 1979. The reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential seal, with an eagle holding a shield and arrows, a design that symbolizes strength and unity. The coin is also inscribed with United States of America e pluribus unum, and the denomination half-dollar. In terms of mintage, the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is often regarded as less rare compared to some of its predecessors, but it is still considered a valuable collector's item due to the absence of a mint mark. Typically, coins with no mint mark are associated with the Philadelphia Mint, which produced the majority of Kennedy half-dollars during this period. However, this particular issue was produced in large numbers, yet the scarcity in pristine, circulated condition, and fine condition makes this coin highly desirable. The market value of this coin is driven by a few factors. The first and foremost is its silver content, which was 40% from 1965 until 1970. By the time 1979 rolled around, however, the coin had transitioned to a clad composition with copper-nickel for standard production. So the silver content itself doesn't push the value up as much as it does for earlier coins in the series. However, the condition of the coin plays a huge role. A 1979 Kennedy half-dollar in circulated fine condition, with sharp detail on the features and only lightware, can fetch a value significantly higher than other circulated examples. At the top of the auction market, the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar in fine condition can command anywhere from $80,000 and beyond, particularly if it is certified in an exceptional state by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. For this coin, collectors focus not just on its silver content, but also on its historical value. These coins are often tied to the legacy of the late President Kennedy, whose image continues to evoke a sense of national pride and mourning. One interesting aspect of this coin is its minting error possibilities. Collectors of U.S. coins are always on the lookout for coins with unique errors, such as misstrikes or doubling. While the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar typically doesn't show major errors, smaller issues, such as die cracks or minor doubling of the features, can elevate the value of a single coin considerably. Coins with these errors can be particularly hard to find in fine condition, and as such, they can be worth much more than their non-error counterparts, especially in the auction market. What makes this coin even more appealing to collectors is its connection to the era in which it was minted. By the late 1970s, the United States was dealing with economic struggles, including high inflation and rising interest rates. The Kennedy half dollar, though a symbol of American strength and perseverance, represents a moment in history that collectors and investors are eager to capture. The political climate, economic atmosphere, and the continuing memory of President Kennedy's legacy all contribute to the coin's desirability. For a coin like the 1979 silver Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, collectors seek pieces that exhibit as much of the original detail as possible. The value is significantly higher for coins in better than average condition, particularly those with clean surfaces and minimal imperfections. Collectors often search for coins with sharp details on Kennedy's profile and the eagle on the reverse, as these are indicators of the coin's quality and preservation. Switching gears, we now turn our attention to the 1972 silver Kennedy half dollar with a D mint mark. This version of the coin, minted at the Denver Mint, has become one of the more desirable coins for collectors. The 1972 coin is part of the series that began in 1964, but this particular year carries unique characteristics that have contributed to its rising value in the market. The 1972 silver Kennedy half dollar is particularly sought after due to its striking design and the significance of its production in Denver. This coin also features a large date, which is a key distinguishing feature. The difference between the large and small date is often subtle, but it plays an essential role in determining the rarity of the coin. The 1972 large date is considered more rare and valuable, as the smaller date variety is more common, which means that collectors are particularly focused on finding a well-preserved 1972 large date with a D mint mark. The obverse of the 1972 Kennedy half dollar features the iconic portrait of President John F. Kennedy. This coin is one of the most instantly recognizable designs in U.S. numismatics, thanks to its bold and simple lines that capture the strength and resolve of the late president. The reverse, as with all Kennedy half dollars, features the eagle, with its wings spread wide and holding arrows and an olive branch, signifying the United States' power and peace. In terms of mintage, the 1972 Kennedy half dollar with a D mint mark saw a relatively large production run at the Denver Mint, which means that these coins were circulating in high numbers. However, many of these coins have been lost to history or were simply used until they were no longer in circulation. Finding an uncirculated 1972 Kennedy half dollar with the D mint mark is rare, and that rarity drives up its value in the market. The 1972 silver Kennedy half dollar is made of 40% silver, which gives it intrinsic value. However, it is the uncirculated condition of these coins that makes them so highly sought after in the modern auction market. The uncirculated versions of these coins, which retain all of their original luster and surface details, are prized by collectors. A coin that has never been used in circulation, or one that has been carefully preserved over the years, will fetch a significantly higher price than one that has been heavily worn. Auction prices for the 1972 Kennedy half dollar in uncirculated condition can be astronomical, sometimes reaching upwards of $150,000 or more for particularly well-preserved examples. The uncirculated coin, being in pristine condition, is highly valued because it represents the best of what the U.S. Mint produced during that period. Collectors know that obtaining a coin in this state is rare, and those willing to pay the premium price for it do so with the expectation that the coin's value will only increase over time. Like the 1979 version, the 1972 silver Kennedy half dollar also appeals to collectors due to its historical context. This coin was produced in an era where the country was undergoing significant changes, both politically and socially. The Vietnam War was nearing its end, and the country was grappling with political unrest, inflation, and the aftermath of the civil rights movement. The Kennedy half dollar has always served as a symbol of hope and a connection to the legacy of President Kennedy, which makes it especially meaningful to collectors. Collectors of the 1972 Kennedy half dollar are often looking for coins that have unique features, such as small errors, die cracks, or minor misstrikes. While these are not major errors, they can add value to the coin, especially if they are found in an uncirculated specimen. Errors of this nature are not common, and when they are found, they can command a premium price at auction, sometimes pushing the value of the coin well beyond its typical market value. Ultimately, the 1972 silver Kennedy half dollar is more than just a piece of currency. It is a part of American history, and its value is driven not only by its silver content and rarity, but also by the story it tells. It represents a time when the country was struggling with division and uncertainty, yet still looked to the example set by President Kennedy for inspiration and leadership. Collectors who seek to acquire this coin do so with an appreciation for its historical significance and the rarity that makes it so valuable in today's numismatic market. Next up, the United States Kennedy half-dollar series has long been a favorite among collectors, especially those who have a deep appreciation for both the history and design of American coins. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, in honor of his life and legacy. This coin became an instant iconic piece, not only because of its historical context, but also due to the design chosen for the obverse and reverse sides. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar in particular is an interesting coin for several reasons. First, the large date variant is one of the key distinguishing features, but what makes this coin truly rare and valuable is its without mint mark status. Before diving into the intricacies of its value, let's explore the history and design elements that make this coin so special. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar was minted during the post-1965 period when the U.S. government had transitioned to using a copper-nickel-clad composition for many of its coins, including the Kennedy half-dollar. The coin was struck in large numbers, but there was a significant drop in public interest due to the reduced silver content and its perceived diminished value. Nevertheless, for serious collectors, certain years and varieties of this coin remain highly sought after. In particular, the 1973 version of the Kennedy half-dollar is notable because it was the final year of production for the large date design. The Mint also produced a small date variant in 1973, and collectors seek out these differences. For most of the public, the Kennedy half-dollar had become more of a regular circulation coin, but for dedicated numismatists, certain examples, especially those in circulated condition with specific characteristics, have become incredibly valuable. What sets the 1973 coin apart is the fact that it lacks a mint mark. In most years, the mint mark would be present to indicate whether the coin was produced at the Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco Mint. However, for this year, coins minted at the Philadelphia Mint did not bear a mint mark, making them rarer compared to their Denver Mint counterparts. Although the Philadelphia Mint struck a significant number of these coins, the lack of a mint mark means that coins in high-quality circulated condition are particularly scarce. In today's auction market, this specific variant can fetch a price far beyond the standard Kennedy half-dollar, especially if it's in a circulated condition. The value of this coin can fluctuate depending on the coin's condition, but on average, it could range from a few $100s for a typical circulated example to well over $100,000 for a coin in exceptional condition with a unique history. The total mintage of the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar, including both the large and small date varieties, is over 100 million. However, when it comes to coins in circulated condition with the no mint mark, the number of examples in decent quality is much lower. Coins in circulated condition are often subject to wear and tear, and many of them simply didn't survive the years in great shape. The rarity of finding a coin in good circulated condition contributes significantly to its high collector interest and value. It is speculated that fewer than 50 examples of this coin in circulated condition are in mint quality or near mint quality state, which drives its price up considerably. The design itself hasn't changed since its inception in 1964, and it remains one of the most well-recognized images in American coinage. However, what makes the 1973 coin particularly interesting to collectors is the subtle variation in the large date design. The large date refers to the size and positioning of the numerals used in the year on the coin. This distinctive feature is one that collectors specifically look for when determining the coin's authenticity and value. Errors play a major role in driving up the value of coins, and the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar is no exception. Among the most notable errors associated with this coin are die clashes, where two dies strike each other, leaving unintended markings on the coin's surface. Coins with these errors are particularly coveted by collectors who appreciate the rarity and uniqueness of these pieces. Additionally, any coins that have been preserved in extraordinary condition, such as those with deep strikes or minor proof-like finishes, can command premium prices at auction. Collector interest in this coin has surged in recent years, especially as more and more individuals discover the inherent value in these coins. The fact that the 1973 silver Kennedy half dollar features a design that commemorates the life of one of America's most beloved presidents, combined with its rarity and the potential for future market growth, ensures that it remains one of the most highly sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. Next up, the Kennedy half dollar series continued well into the 1980s, maintaining its place in American currency despite its diminished use in everyday transactions. For collectors, however, the Kennedy half dollar from 1985, particularly the large date variety with a D mint mark, represents an exceptional piece of history and a highly sought-after coin in uncirculated condition. Let's explore why this coin, in its pristine, uncirculated state, is so highly valued and regarded by collectors. By 1985, the Kennedy half dollar had undergone several changes in its design, composition, and circulation. While the coin had initially been issued in 90% silver, by the mid-1960s, the silver content had been reduced, and by 1971, the coin was produced in a copper-nickel-clad composition. However, despite this reduction in silver content, the Kennedy half dollar continued to be produced for circulation, primarily to meet the needs of coin collectors and the public demand for commemorative issues. The 1985 Kennedy half dollar with the large date design represents a time when the U.S. Mint was still producing coins for circulation, but also releasing a range of special mintages for collectors. This particular coin, with the D mint mark, was minted at the Denver Mint and is significant for a couple of reasons. First, the large date feature is still present in the 1985 version, making it a standout coin in the series. While the 1985 coin is generally not as rare as earlier years in the series, its uncirculated state makes it much more desirable, and it commands a significantly higher price on the auction market. In today's market, this specific coin can easily fetch a price of $200,000 or more, depending on its condition and rarity. It's important to note that the uncirculated examples are especially valued, as these coins have never been in circulation and show no signs of wear, making them highly prized by collectors who seek perfection in their collections. The total mintage for the 1985 Kennedy half dollar was just over 40 million coins, which is not an insignificant number. However, the availability of these coins in uncirculated condition is quite limited, especially in the higher grades. Coins from the Denver Mint, in particular, are sought after by collectors who focus on obtaining examples from specific mints. The fact that the coin features a large date design further enhances its desirability. With a mintage of over 40 million coins, it might seem like the 1985 Kennedy half dollar is quite common. But in reality, finding one in uncirculated condition is relatively rare, especially as many of these coins were used for everyday transactions or simply weren't preserved in high-grade states. The rarity of high-grade 1985 Kennedy half dollars, particularly those from the Denver Mint, makes them stand out in the market. The design of the 1985 Kennedy half dollar remains largely unchanged from previous years. The obverse features the iconic portrait of President John F. Kennedy, surrounded by the inscription Liberty and the year of minting. The reverse of the coin continues to feature the heraldic eagle, a symbol of the United States, holding an olive branch and arrows. The large date design of the 1985 coin is a minor variation in which the numerals of the year appear larger than those on previous designs. This subtle difference is a key feature that collectors look for when identifying the 1985 large date coin. Like many coins in the Kennedy half dollar series, the 1985 version is not without its errors. One of the most commonly seen errors is the misaligned die, which can result in coins with off-center strikes. These errors are extremely valuable in the world of numismatics, as they provide a glimpse into the manufacturing process and add a unique story to the coin's history. Additionally, coins that show minor imperfections in the strike, such as weak or doubled lettering, are also prized by collectors who specialize in errors. Collectors have a strong interest in the 1985 Silver Kennedy half dollar for several reasons. Its design, the historical context surrounding President Kennedy's life and legacy, and the rarity of well-preserved examples. The uncirculated condition and the D mint mark further add to the coin's desirability, as Denver mint coins are often harder to find in top-grade condition. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more content like this. Don't forget to like and comment with your thoughts on these two incredible coins.